the dice. This is it. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Talking baseball.
The grand salami.
Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Welcome to Fed Up, the number one place where you can get up on all things Federal League. I am your host, Josh Stoll. I want to start this episode with just a note of gratitude. Really thank everybody who tuned into our first episode, and especially those of you who have reached out and just offered some of your kind words and support. Your encouragement really does mean something, so I really appreciate that. We have an incredible episode lined up for you today. We will be joined by player manager of the Lakeville Lobos and Federal League Hall of Famer, Tori Holt. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him on. It is my pleasure to welcome player manager of the Lakeville Lobos, Tori Holt, to the podcast. Tori, welcome to Fed Up.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate.
Tori, you certainly have a lot of high-profile positions. I know you're assistant coaching with the St. Cloud State Huskies. You run one of the more successful youth travel softball programs in the state, the Midwest Speed. I know you're running your own podcast called The Rundown. Talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to and plug anything you'd like.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on Fed Up. I appreciate it. I love the Federal League, and it's been a pretty cool thing over the last 13 years to be a part of, and certainly see it grow as much as it has since I think it was 2012 when I got involved in this league, and it's nowhere near the same as it is today, and it's obviously because of the people that have come into the league and have cared about the league and promoted the league and done all that stuff. So it's awesome that now we're doing a podcast. And as far as talking about some of the stuff that I've been involved with recently, I guess the state high school league for high school league tournaments. I think I'm on year 14 now with that too. So it was 2010. I worked for the Dallas Stars, and then I ended up coming back to Minnesota after a couple of years in Dallas, and then Colorado with the Avalanche, and I was doing radio and TV there. And I just kind of wanted to get back home, and got a gig doing the high school league, and we had a startup company. We started at Andy Price, who used to work for the Twins, and and Brian Nicholson was the main investor. We got that thing going and got with the high school league, and now they carry all their tournament games and section games on the web stream. I think that company also did now it's called the Neighborhood Sports Network. It's kind of now taken over the state of Minnesota in the streaming venue, and they carry the state amateur baseball playoffs as well on there, and I know they did the over 35 a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. I would love to see our league leverage that relationship more. NSN does a great job, and it's great to have that kind of visibility on our games for sure.
I know, it was fun. It was fun to go back and watch the state tournament when they did that a couple of years ago at Anoka when the Grays put that on up at Castlefield. That was such a well done job. So it's just fun to be a part of all of those kinds of things that are community based, youth sports based, and just kind of feel good about doing those things and helping mentor kids. And it's much more fulfilling to be a coach for me than it was being a broadcaster, but I enjoy doing prep sports, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of that as well.
I saw your picture with Lou Nanny, obviously this being his last year on the broadcast. Well, what have you kind of learned about whether it's managing or sports or life, just hanging around some of those personalities, hanging around some of the coaches, even the players?
So I went to St. Cloud in the late 90s, and I went there to play baseball, and I had some issues. I've been sober now 21 years. That's kind of a part of about my story. I went back and I played, finished my degree. It was finishing my degree at Northwestern, and went back and played baseball when I was like 40 years old. And Lou's best friend, Glenn Sonmore, who used to coach the Minnesota North Stars in the early 80s, was my AA sponsor and was my mentor. And Glenn would always tell me, don't ever stop playing ball until someone tells you can't play anymore. Yeah. And that was his big thing. And I love that. And I always tell the kids that I just keep playing. And I guess I kind of I kind of took that to heart, right? I'm 49, still running the Lobo, still trying to play all the time, and it's getting harder, obviously. But I learned that just to enjoy the game and play the game, play with passion, and have fun doing the thing. And through Glenn, when I got on the state tournaments, I got to know Lou. And one of the cool things with Lou Nanny was the last boys state hockey tournament I worked was right before COVID. COVID had just started. I remember hearing about a couple of cases in Minnesota, and it was 2020. Hill Murray won the state title that year. And on Saturday night after they won the championship, there was a snowstorm in St. Paul. And I got Lou Nanny complaining that he didn't have a ride and he didn't want to drive. So I said, Lou, I'll drive you home. And he jumped in my car, and for an hour and a half from St. Paul to Edina, Lou sat in my car and talked all the way to Edina in a snowstorm. And I joke, but it was funny. It was like having K-Fan on. And I'm just sitting there asking him questions about the North Stars in the 80s and the state tournament and him playing for the Gophers, and about Glenn. We talked about Glenn a lot. And I don't know, it was a surreal experience. And now knowing that he's retiring and he's such a legend in Minnesota, it was just a kind of a neat experience that organically happened that, I don't know, kind of a once in a lifetime thing with a Minnesota legend,
Normally when you have K-Fan on the radio, you're not able to interact with it and ask questions and have him respond. So, I bet that was
He's a really nice guy. He's a really nice human being, and I wish him the best. He'll be down in Naples, Florida now, and I sent him a text his last night, and they had a nice party, but I happened to be in Florida for Husky softball at the time, so I wasn't able to make it back, which was unfortunate. But, he's a real good dude, and obviously a legend in Minnesota. It was cool to spend time with him and have an opportunity to have a cool moment like that with him.
Well, you mentioned you started playing in the Federal League in 20. I've got you, just looking here, the all-time wins list with 28. I got you in 9th place right now.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive list in front of you. Obviously, that's a credit to not only your longevity, but the fact that you can sling a little bit. Even at the young age of 49. You pitched in some big games, some playoff games. Talk a little bit about just how you've been able to keep yourself healthy and get outs.
Well, first off, the biggest key to me getting a lot of wins is the fact that we have Jamie Steinberg. And Jamie was able to face all the top teams, and then I didn't have to take those A matchups, which obviously helps out, right? But
he's fifth on that list, so he's one of the good ones.
He's special. That's a state hockey tournament story.
Yeah,
he was a linesman at the state hockey tournament, and I'm sitting in between the benches waiting for one of the semifinal games to start on TV. And he comes over and he introduces himself to me. I don't know him at all. I've never met him in my entire life. And he starts telling me that he plays over 35 baseball in Wisconsin, and he's looking for a team in Minnesota. And I asked him where he lived, and he said in Hibbing, and he's a teacher up there. And I was I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, I'll get your number. So I get the guy's number. And this is in 2006. And I had just taken over the team. We hadn't even started yet. Louis had just handed it off to me that year. This is March. So in May, I totally forget about this guy. I don't have his number on my phone or nothing. And we start off the year like 5-0, and we have to play the Minnetonka Saints, who were the defending champs. And they were the team to beat that year. And so we faced them. And Nick Bierkin, who is in the Minnesota Amateur Hall of Fame, who ran Stockman's for years and was a league MVP, a state MVP. Nick Bierkin ends up coming to us that year, and he pitches that game, and he did something to his elbow in that game. Find out he tears his UCL. We lose the game on the last play of the game. We lose 3-2, and Josh Norgard and I are sitting in the parking lot going, oh my gosh, our season's done. What are we going to do? We don't have a pitcher. I get a text from a number I didn't understand. I didn't have on my phone, and it says, hey, how'd the game go tonight? I'm like, I don't know. We lost 3-2. We lost our starting pitcher. Who is this? It's Jamie from the state hockey tournament. I'm like, oh, hey, buddy, how's it going? He goes, you looking for a pitcher? And I said, yeah, we are. And I go, yeah, this guy, Nick Bierkin, tore his UCL tonight. I think we're screwed for the season. We just lost our starting pitcher. And he goes, that's so weird. I played with Nick Bierkin at St. Scholastica. He was on my team for 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So he goes, I'd love to pitch for you. I go, well, we play on Tuesday night in Minneapolis against Mill City, and they were a good team at the time. And so Jamie comes down and throws that game, and he was unreal. You know, he's throwing 85 miles an hour at the time with his cutter and his slider and his changeup, and I'm just going, who is this guy? And so we're like, can you come back? So yeah, he comes back. We play Rockford the next week. We win like 17-2 over them. He throws 6 shutout innings, and it was just like and then we end up winning the state championship that year, 2016, our first year running the team. And Jamie was our MVP. Him and Dave Meyer threw one of the greatest championship games ever, 11 innings. They both were over 130 pitches, 1-1 into the 11th inning. And we ended up winning that game. I think Dave hurt his arm in that game and missed most of the next year. But what a fantastic battle with 2 guys in their over 35 prime, right? Like Dave was throwing mid upper 80s and Jamie was mid 80s. It was quite a game. We played it out at Museville, but yeah, he ended up being our savior that season, and obviously been one of the greats in the league. But yeah, pretty cool.
Great park, great setting sounds like a great game. I would say you're living right where you got a guy like Jamie Steinberg who just, falls in your. You were inducted into the Federal League Hall of Fame last year, and I know you possess a ton of knowledge and appreciation for the history of the Federal League. Why is that important to you?
The history of the Federal League is neat. It's really cool. You know, you go all the way back to Louis Levici and Dan Tupper and Jim Block and those guys, Larry Gessler. You know, those guys mean a lot to the league, and I think the history of the league is very important to what we're doing today because this league wasn't the best league in Minnesota, and it wasn't the most competitive league, and they kept that thing going, and they pushed through and were able to build this thing. And as it has grown now, it's probably the best over 35 league in the country now.
You started some great annual traditions in terms of bringing your group down to Field of Dreams. I know you do an event at CHS. Tell me a little bit about what those mean to you.
That's special to me, and being able to do that every year in the middle of the summer and with my friends and doing that and doing the cigars and baseball event, like that kind of and going to Roy Hobbs, like those kinds of things make over 35 baseball special. And obviously we're all in it to win, but only one team wins. And so those things kind of, when we don't win, we get to look back on our year and know that it was successful because of those kind of opportunities.
I'm glad you mentioned, some of those experiences. I mean, that's part of the reason why I want to do this podcast too. Is just the community and shrink a little bit, get guys to hear some of these stories of how you met Jamie and all of these, great connections that people are making. A lot of great teams, a lot of great players in this league. But there can only be one. So what do you say we kind of breeze through the divisions? I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you see as being somebody to keep an eye on in terms of being able to make the AAA and then potentially even be the one left standing at the end.
So looking at this, obviously the teams that to me stand out right off the top, like right away, that pop out to me it's pretty cut and dry, right? It's East Metro Rays, and those 2 teams are obviously they're loaded. I think the Grays are deeper pitching wise. East Metro, they can hit. They give Matt Grill so much credit for what he is able to do night in and night out. He absolutely owns us. Like I mean, the ball's coming in at 78 miles an hour, and then it comes in at 71, and you got Big Joe Witt flying out to center field. You got Rathman rolling over to third. You got me looking at strike three at my knees, and like it's just like he's just as he's so cerebral. He's got such great control. He's got such good command of his pitches, and he just gives them a chance anytime he's on the mound to win a game and win a big playoff game. And he can throw so many innings, and he's got great mechanics. So he doesn't put a lot of toll on his body when he's pitching. And that's why I think he can come back so much. And so that obviously helps him, and giving those guys a chance every year. And then the Grays obviously are really deep, and great leadership in Joey Olson, and their shortstop is fantastic. And Jack Nelson has really developed into a good, solid pitcher for them. Run you guys with Tim Scott in the East, but you got Rosemount in your division, so that's tough. I mean, the one thing about the Grays is they just don't have a tough division. I mean, they should be able to roll through that division. No, I'm not taking anything away from what Chris does at Capital City or Mark Worms or anything like that. But let's just, they don't get challenged a whole lot, and they should be able to get into the AAA no problem. You guys have Rosemount, who's one of the top teams, and they got some pitching depth. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, besides them, St. Anthony always has, they can get you any night. And obviously the JTs, for whatever reason, I don't know how Jim Block does it, but at the end of the day, Jim Block is usually there in the end, and he's always pulling some kind of upset on somebody.
Wait, and this being his farewell tour, so we certainly you expect some magic left in Jim Block's bag. Rosemount, they're a fantastic team. Love Ken. That's a team we're really familiar with. We had a lot of rivalry games played with them when we were both in the other league there. So kind of excited to rekindle that. And with the format now, there's 8 teams in that AAA still, but 7 are division winners, and we only take 1 wild card. So it could be the A's and the Pipers fighting out something like that. But it could be with you guys and Newmarket as well. That's another tough little spot where 2 really, really good teams, perennial powerhouses, are going to be jockeying back and forth a little bit.
That's in our division, it gets tough. We got a tough division. I mean, you never know if Elko is going to show up and be elite on a nightly basis, because they have the ability to pull guys from their amateur team. They're very good, and so you never know who you're going to get from that team. Lonsdale, very solid. Mike Alvestead, best shortstop, one of the best shortstops in the league, obviously. And they can obviously pitch and be competitive there. Newmarket is in the finals every year, or at the end every year. So they are always going to be competitive. We had good games with them last year. I think we split with them. American South, the Burnsville Bulldogs are tough. Like, they're always tough. Josh Lowen does a great job with those guys, and Corey Towers, was special player down at Red Wing, and is continuing to play in the over 35 and do a great job. And Northfield's a fun team. Milltown, those guys are great. Paul Josh has him and Russ Bauer running that team. They always put out a competitive team. By the way, that no offense to anybody else, but the Milltown, that place in Dundas, that's the best field. That's awesome to play down there. I have a blast playing in that. And then Tonka Bay Lakers, they're going to be solid. JJ Jensen runs that team. I've known him for a while. He's in the softball world. He's a coach at Bethel, does a wonderful job with the kids. Like, he played for Max Bat for years. He's been around. Yeah. Like, they're going to be a solid team. Minnetonka Saints, obviously. Joe, Hall of Famer, Prezell, like, he's found a way to turn back the clock and bring the Minnetonka Saints back.
Yeah.
And I think one guy that's kind of underrated a little bit is Jeff Wilson with the Snappers. Like, that guy, he puts a team out there every year. They seem to compete. They're a team that's gotten older, but year in and year out, he has a team that can compete
Rounding out that division, I know the Loons, that team gives us fits. They pound the ball.
Do. I haven't seen them. And
they got their guys, and that's kind of everyone's schedule here, in terms of can you get your guys to show up? Who can you get there on a consistent basis? But that's definitely true of the Loons, with Brecky and Hess, and, Josh Pop when he's able to come down a couple of times a year. But when those guys have their guys, they're tough out.
So that's the big thing, right? Like, if we have Don Erdahl or Matt Myers show up to pitch, we're gonna be able to win any game. If we got me, we're probably not. So it just makes it tough. I mean, I will tell you about Matt. Matt is and as people have gotten to know him, he's one of the best dudes out there. Like, you would think a guy that played 9 years pro, that played 6 at AAA, like, have kind of an attitude or carry himself in a certain way. He's just a great guy. And he has so much fun playing baseball. Besides the winning part of it that everybody's trying to do and the competitive stuff, and then people get pissed at each other on the field sometimes. But you find out, just take the competitive part of the game away, and then there's a lot of good people in this league.
Absolutely. On the competitive, part of, I think, what still makes it fun and exciting. I mean,
absolutely.
It's not D League softball. It's not your golf league.
I would say I always said, like, if I just wanted to go out and hang out with buddies, I wouldn't be playing baseball. Like, I'm playing baseball because I love playing baseball, but I also like to be competitive, like, and win. And I can't get that anywhere else on the field, or you don't really get it. I mean, I get it a little bit with coaching, but you're the coach. Like, it's still fun to be able to go out and play. For me being 49, be able to go out and play against guys that are almost 15 years younger, like, that's a fun challenge. Like, it's hard to see the ball anymore when you're at the plate in night games, but that makes it a little more of a challenge. But it's a lot of fun, man. It's a fun league, and I'm very grateful with the way the league has grown over the last however many years into what it is today, and I can't believe I'm the old guy now.
So what's next for the Lobos?
And next year we have a new stadium in Lakeville. They did a $35 million park renovation, or a referendum that went through, and they're building it south, and the stadium will be a $5 million stadium that they're building. Should be ready by this fall, actually. So we'll be moving in there for next year. Yeah, but I'll never hit a home run again because it's $330 down the lines. It's not $299.
King has its advantages.
Yeah, it does.
Certainly. Yeah.
I think all fields should be that scale, like, because it fits our league, it fits our guys, right? Like, it's like scale to MLB baseball.
Sure. Yeah. You see a little, more pop, in that.
Yeah.
In that
I got a shot.
Yeah, I love it.
Maybe we can host the All-Star game next year or something.
Oh, now that sounds like a good idea. Chaska doing it this year at a really great venue. You mentioned Gessler and his contributions to not only the league currently, but just what he's done to provide the opportunity for everyone now to play. Certainly going to be a great year in just paying tribute to some of those guys like Block and Gessler, and even Tepper. As he continues as commissioner, and it should be a fun season from that perspective.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame All-Star stuff, that's a lot of fun. I think it's very important. I think it's important to do that every year, and I think some teams don't take it as serious, or I don't have time to send a guy or find a guy or whatever. But, like, it's important to the league, and it's important to the history of the league. It's important to those guys that have come before us, I think, that have allowed this league to be here. I think that's one thing that I'd like to see continue to keep going. And I love that Tupper makes a point of that. And I hope that whoever comes after him continues to do that and grow at it, because I think it's fun. I think it was a lot of fun. It was good to see. There's a bunch of guys from the Grays there, and Mammoth there, and Casey Johnson. One of my favorite memories is Casey Johnson hitting a home run on the first pitch of the game in that field at Castle.
Yeah,
at Castle. That was a bomb. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was nuked.
Yeah.
I know you are a big fan of all these burner accounts on the Twitter. And one of the ones that I do follow a little bit and get a little enjoyment out of is the Brandon Lang Sports Advisors. So it's, I think, based on one of the movies where Matthew McConaughey plays Brandon Lang, and he's a handicapper. So he puts out just a list of odds for your Federal League champions. He's got Lakeville as the
If we had Matt and Don full time, I would agree with him that we would be pretty much a high-end favorite.
He's got the
Come
Mammoth
on.
next. He's got the Minnetonka Saints at plus 400. He's got the Grays all the way down in fourth. He's got the Northerns, Rockford, Pipers, Bulldogs, the Metro Saints, and then the Tonka Bay Lakers rounding out his top 10. But of anyone on that list, or beyond, anyone in the league, you can't pick yourself, but you tell me who you like to be the top of the hill and hoisting that trophy at the end of the season.
I would say that probably the Grays. I mean, I would say that the Grays would have a really good shot to repeat again. But it should be fun. I'm excited for the competitiveness. Like I was looking at our schedule. Our schedule's ridiculous. Like every game, it's a tough game. Eden Prairie, Chaska, Burnsville, Rockford, Waconia, Newmarket, Webster, Elko, Lonsdale, Hastings, all through the end of June. There's nobody that I take lightly, I'll tell you that much. I mean, you can get beat on any night. And anybody can beat anybody. Depends on who shows up, who's pitching, and when you're coming in hot from work and you're haven't stretched out and you're like that's real life Federal Leagues.
Yeah, that's a tough lineup, and I feel like there's a lot of teams that might feel like, hey, I think we play in the toughest division because I feel like they're well balanced. I feel like there's maybe two upper tier teams who would be widely regarded as upper tier in each division. Then there's a couple of teams in each that could certainly find themselves battling upwards for that AAA spot. And then there's one that might be downer in the standings and struggling a little bit, but you never know when a team like that is going to add a player or two that completely makes a difference. I mean, you look at a team like Richfield, right? And the pitcher they added, I know he had just a terrible injury at the Hickory, but one pitcher like that can certainly change the landscape for an entire season for a team.
For us, it depends on who's able to pitch, right? Like you got Jamie. We picked up a new guy out of the TCMABL who threw with us at CHS. He'll be solid this year. He'll be able to compete with some of the upper level teams. And then you got Don Erdahl in his last year with Minnetonka and Matt Meyer in his last year with Rochester, and they're both going to be full time next year. So that will be very helpful to us. And then obviously we got some younger cats, and those guys are going to help us. You have to. I mean, I just remember how good that the Minnetonka Saints were when we first came into the league, and they got older quick. And I felt like the Lobos last year got old quick. And there was, after 20, it started to go where guys won. They kind of won for the first time. And then you start to lose a little bit of that drive. And so it's easier to not show up. It's easier to say, well, they got enough guys tonight. And we got down the wire. There was so many games last year that we were fighting to get 9 guys. And it was so frustrating. I got to tell you, playoffs, horrible. We go out there against Burnsville and we got 8 guys to start the game. I mean, I was livid. I was absolutely livid. And we just had to have some hard conversations with some guys and just say, look, we're either going to find somebody else to run the team and try to redo this, or we're going to redo it and we're just going to ask you to find a different place that's a better fit for you. And it's no hard feelings. It's just we're trying to win if we're going to show up and play. And if we're going to go out there and we're going to spend money to get good gear and pay for these fields at CHS and at Field of Dreams and try to give you a good experience, then we need something coming back. And if you're not going to show up and it's going to be a team of convenience to you, then we got to try to find somebody who's a better fit for what we're looking for. Because there's, like you said, 35 teams in the league. Go somewhere where you can find a good fit. If you want to just play on some teams and just show up and play whenever you want, that's fine. Just go do that. And for us, we want to try to compete and win every year. And so we need guys that are committed. And I think we got guys that are committed now. And it'll make it a lot more fun.
Tori, I just have to credit you for your ability you've built something out of nothing. You've shared, kind of where you started, with Lakeville, and obviously you guys are just a perennial force to be reckoned with. You're always among the top teams in the league. Certainly, it's a credit to you and the program that you built there, and just really grateful for what you've added to the league, in terms of your playing, your managing, some of your connections, and just your friendship as well.
Sure.
So thank you very much for being on the podcast. Really enjoyed it having you.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed playing Hickory tournament with you guys last year. It was a fun experience. Got to know some of your guys, and appreciate you having me on this. And I'm looking forward to a great year. And the league's better than it ever has been because of people like you and Top and Lars and Jamie and so many of the guys that have come before us. And it's cool to see that it started with our, we had a Facebook page, and now Twitter has run rampant with stuff. So, but I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to a great summer, and really just enjoy over 35 baseball here at the tail end of my career.
Yeah,
So,
I love it, and I gotta say, you look good in green and gold. So when you want to do that again, you let us know.
All right, well, Hickory tournament, let me know.
I love it. Good luck to you this season.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Tori Holt's certainly a great storyteller and maybe one of the more prominent and perhaps polarizing figures in the Federal League. I've got this working theory that the Lobos are kind of like the New York Yankees. Either you love them or you really love to beat them. And they've got the high profile personnel, in terms of Matt Meyer and Don Erdell and Joe Witt and Jamie Steinberg. And, like the Yankees, it's been a couple years since they've won it. And I know they are hungry and certainly capable of not only adding some new splashy names and attracting talent, through our quote unquote free agency process, but they are certainly capable of winning it all this year. Really grateful to have Tori Holt on and look forward to having him on again. I'm sure there's some of you out there that are thinking, well, that wasn't much of a preview episode. My team didn't even get mentioned. And I hear you, and I got your back. Next week, I'm going to do a full preview episode where it's just going to be me. You got to endure me the entire time. No co-hosts, no guests. But we're going to cover a win-loss record for all 35 teams. We're going to pick the division winners. We're going to pick champions for the AAA all the way down through the B. It's going to be an intense and full and action-packed episode. I really hope you come back for it. There's going to be a lot of praise for teams. There's going to be a lot of bulletin board material for teams. So make sure you tune in for that. Until then, we'll see you, and thanks for joining Fed Up.